Hello everyone, Bob here. Today we're going to talk about the 4K Blu-ray release of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, which of course was based on the Stephen King book. The Shining is one of the legendary films in horror history, and let's look at the steelbook packaging, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the transfer and the movie itself. There's the front. Of course, it's got the maze, and it says the famous "all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy." There's the spine. There's the back. The cardboard back, I guess. And here's the back. It's just more of the maze. There is the artwork on the inside. It, of course, is the maze. And of course, it has a Blu-ray, which is the new transfer of the film. It's just a 1080 version of it. And then, of course, here's the 4K disc itself. The Shining is one of those iconic horror films. From the music to Jack Nicholson chopping through the door and saying the "Here's Johnny" line. It's a very iconic piece of horror history. Film's about Jack Torrance gets a job. Basically, he's hotel setting this overlook hotel that's up in the mountains. It closes during the winter because it's impossible to get to because of the weather. And the hotel, of course, is haunted, and Jack Nicholson plays Danny Torrance, and Danny Torrance he's a troubled individual. There was some child abuse issues with his child, but due to the alcohol he drank, and he had sobered up and was trying to get on the right track, and this was a job up there. Well, over the course of his stay there, he gradually went crazy. And, of course, the haunted hotel didn't help matters, and in the end, he attacks his family. Now, the book, The Shining, is also legendary in terms of horror fiction. And, my opinion, the book is really good. I'm not going to compare this version of The Shining to the ABC miniseries that Stephen King himself wrote. Stephen King did not like this version of The Shining. So, but he did like the sequel, Dr. Sleep, which is based off of his book then. So I found that's kind of one of the more interesting things. We'll get into more into that now. But my thoughts on the film: it's a very good film. It's a legendary horror film. I've got to give it 8.5 out of 10. I don't like it as well as I like some of the other horror films I like, but it is, you have to respect its place in horror, and it is a good film, and like I say, 8.5 out of 10. Video transfer on this is a little controversial because Stanley Kubrick filmed all of his films in 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio. This film is 1.78 to 1 aspect ratio, as is most all of Warner's catalog releases. Personally, it didn't bother me that much, not quite being in the original aspect ratio. The DVD I had was in the 1.33 standard full screen, and so was the laserdisc I had. So, I mean, this is some semblance of what the original aspect ratio was. It's as close as we've ever gotten, and truthfully, the rest of the transfer is so incredible that I can overlook it. Flesh tones look incredible. Detail is amazing. This is one of the best looking catalog films I have seen on 4K. It looks really good. Grain is there, but it's not been scrubbed. You can tell there hasn't been DNR or edge enhancement or any of that nonsense applied. It looks good. So I'm going to give the video quality on this disc, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. For a catalog release, especially for a movie that's 40 years old this year, it looks incredible. So this release does not include the original mono soundtrack that was with the film when it was originally released. What it does include is a DTS Master Audio 5.1 soundtrack, and it sounds pretty good. It is immersive, and you can almost feel the sound of the wind blowing because it's snowstorm and blizzard outside. It's very atmospheric. It does its job really well. Would I've liked an Atmos? Yeah, but I mean, the fact that you don't have the overhead channels, you don't really miss it that much here. But it does work. What is here is really good. I know there was a lot of people upset that the mono track was not there. But, I mean, it would have been nice because I'm sure there's enough room on the disc to have included it. But just so you can experience the film as it was originally seen. But I didn't have a problem with this, with the DTS Master Audio soundtrack. So I'm going to give the audio on this release a 9 out of 10. It sounds really good. It's really atmospheric. Dialogue is crisp and clear. The only reason to really knock it is because you don't have the overhead for the Atmos, but you don't really miss that. And really, it doesn't have the original monos. But what's there sounds really good, so I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. It's good. There are better, but it does sound pretty good. All in all, The Shining would go on a top 10 list for best horror films of the 80s, and it would go on a lot of lists for top horror movies of all time. It is a horror classic that any horror fan should have in their collection. Stephen King probably doesn't have it, but it wouldn't surprise me just because he hates that film. Stephen King purists, I can understand why you don't have it in your collection, but I try to look at it as I grew up watching this movie, so it is. I saw the movie before I read Stephen King's book, and really, it is it was kind of a stark contrast to me to read the book as to how different they actually are. So, I mean, if you read a horror book this Halloween spooky season, read The Shining. And then watch the movie and compare them. I think you'd be amazed at how different they really are. Well, that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, please give me a like. Please consider subscribing to this channel. I try to have new content daily. It doesn't always work that way, but that is my goal. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. Just search for Bob the Film Guy. And for now, this is Bob, signing off.